The Nikki Glaser Podcast. The Nikki Glaser Podcast.
Here's Nikki. Hello, here I am. Welcome to the show. It's the Nikki Glaser Podcast. With me today, Noah is in Arizona. Anya's in New York City. Brian Frangie, our new permanent sidekick, is in Los Angeles. How's it going, everyone?
I'm not crying today.
What? Oh. When did you cry?
Remember Saturday on tour? I just wept for an hour.
Saturday on tour, you cried?
We were driving.
Why am I
like,
blacking this out?
Remember, I was like, I made a list of my anxieties and I ate my teeth. And
that
I
was
ate
during.
my life.
Oh yeah, that was during the drive. I was thinking Saturday, like during the show. Yeah,
No,
we
during the
drove
drive.
Saturday on tour, which we're on tour right now. We're in Tucson next weekend and Vegas, and then a lot of European cities. I added up 10 cities in 14 days. But this weekend, we were in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania on Friday. Great show. And
So
then
fun.
2 shows in New Hampshire on Saturday night, and we had to drive 5.5 hours, which, with stops ends up being like 6.5. And in the morning, how did we even get on the subject? I mean, we were just pulling out of town, and all of a sudden Anya, because Anya couldn't sleep. You couldn't sleep the night before. We got terrible sleep because we had to wake up so early to drive.
Yeah. And I was like, I just had a list of anxieties for 4 hours in the middle of the night.
But you made a list.
I made
Do you
a
find that helpful when you are? Why is that helpful to make a list for you? Because
I was
I'm guessing that's a tool you use to get out of anxiety.
It was the last ditch effort because I was like, you gotta stop. Like, if you cannot sleep and none of this meditation or breathing is working, just make a list so you can get it out.
Right.
And then my theory was, I bet it's like 4 things that I'm just recycling over and over. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was like 27 things.
Yeah.
It was so long. I was like scared I will have or get COVID and never be able to tour Europe or
Oh my
get
God.
married. Like,
Do you ever
what?
think about making an appointment to worry where you write down your list and you say, I'm going to worry about these at 10:15 a.m. tomorrow morning?
That's interesting.
That's
because
really
it
good.
doesn't let you off the hook of like never worrying, because when you kind of put things, when you go, just don't think about it, you're like, well, I'm going to have to get to this at some point. Like this requires, but giving yourself a total break from it, knowing you will get to it. I like
God,
that.
I wish I could do that, but it feels like my obsession is too strong. It's like the Hulk. It's like, ha ha ha. You
don't
think
have
your
control.
silly little tool will work against
I mean,
me?
27 is a lot. I can't imagine.
Well, you can't control your thoughts. And everyone knows that. Like, I hope at this point, there's no free will. So they're just coming in. You can't really help them, but there are
then
things you
how
can
could
do
I
that can.
Brian's thing.
Well, because I think thoughts are like a stream. You can kind of like dam them up, and you can direct them in different ways and like steer them
Well,
by
it's really-
doing devices like that. But you
It's
can't
just
help
all-
the flow.
All self-help things is just you have all these things that you can do, and then they take up all your day, and then they don't help at all. But you do them.
I think they do help.
You
And
just
then you
keep
spend
doing
all
them.
day doing it.
Oh,
No,
I've
you're
done-
they
worried about
totally
doing
help.
I spend all my day stretching and breathing, and I feel like shit.
Yeah. I know you still feel
How
like
much
shit.
stretching do I have to do?
Making my bed does not improve anything for me. It's just I have a nice looking bed, but still my life is in shambles.
But you
My
made your
Russian
bed.
And now I
mom
can't get
is
back
always
into
like-
bed.
Yeah, because it's so tight.
My therapist recently, we'll get to your Russian mom. My therapist recently told me that she was like, what do you want to do when you feel anxiety? And I go, I want to curl up in a ball. Like I want to lay down on my stomach and like put my hands underneath I want to feel a lot intense pressure. I want to be pressurized and
like a gravity blanket.
Yeah, so like gravity blankets I never liked, but I kind of do. I get it because I'm trying to do that by laying on my stomach. That's why I lay on my stomach. I want to feel like I'm being squished.
Like a
And when I lay
vacuum
on-
bag.
Yeah. Oh, I would love that. But she said, she goes, do it. I think most therapists would go, don't go to your room and lay in the dark and try to fall asleep when you're feeling anxiety. But she's like, do it. If it works,
Yeah.
that's a soothing thing.
And you used to get migraine headaches all the time, and you would like
yeah, and then I got my
crush your
UTI
head.
taken out. Yeah.
You would
Not
like
your
crush
UTI,
your own
your
head.
My IUD. No, actually, those got put
They are
in.
too similar. You're
My
right.
UTIs definitely got added into my vagina after there's only room for one U thing and 3-lettered thing in my puss at a time. Yeah. But I used to get, my IUD caused me great migraines. And it was the worst thing in my life. And then Chris would have to take my head and put it into his vice-like grip and just push it together. And he was so scared that my head was going to snap like a cantaloupe. And I go, yes, please do that.
Yeah.
I would love for my head my skull to break, because that would feel better and it would relieve the tension. You know, like you just want to break up the tension. Yeah, I mean, so your anxiety list, did it help?
Yeah, because I went to sleep afterwards, but I was sort of shocked. Like, fuck, dude, this is a lot to worry about. This is actually real.
Well, you know how they say read a book to fall asleep? Like you wrote a book.
I really did.
That'll make you fall asleep pretty fast.
There was this old lady who used to, or maybe it was an old man that they did an interview on because he was 115 years old and he was still cutting hair. He was a barber. And they asked him, what's the secret to your longevity? And he said, I don't worry about anything.
Yeah. They
I mean,
interviewed
stress
this old
how?
woman that was like 110. Remember they did that video with all the older people? And like she was like, the secret to life is just be happy every day. Every day I'm happy. She
The
like
secret
everyone
to
in her life
life-
was dead.
The secret
she
to
was
a
happy.
long life is to just keep living for many years.
Not worrying. I mean, stress is you know, once you look at, we talked about that Dr. Sarno book, the healing back pain that completely transformed your back pain, right, Brian? And you talked to
Ball pain.
Dr. Sarno. What?
I had chronic pelvic pain. My
Okay, so
balls
it's
were
not
hurt
even
for
just
6
back
years.
pain. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's all pains.
and it was all in your head, right?
Well,
But not in a way
well, that's
that
a
it was in your
condescending
balls.
way to say. But no,
It is,
yeah,
and that's why people don't like all in your head. But it shouldn't be condescending. It's not it doesn't mean that you're causing it if it's in your head. Again, your thoughts are not your fault. So it's still something that people can feel sorry for you because it's actual pain. But it is not because there's a
Physical.
a torsion in your groin.
no,
It's
they checked for
because-
torsion. There was no torsion.
Right? I don't even know what that means. But I
They
think it can
check-
happen
I
down
love
there.
that word.
Torsion is when your testicles wrap around each other and start
yes,
suffocating
I knew
each other.
it.
Glaser.
Oh my God. Yeah.
If
So-
you put a rubber band around your finger for long enough, it'll turn blue and it'll just fall off.
Yes.
All right, everybody?
Is that,
Don't do
wait,
it.
It'll just fall off.
Frangie.
Don't do it. I know.
Man, I saw a tribe that cuts off. I saw a thing on Reddit, and there's a tribe that like cuts off men's fingers to test their strength, and if they wince, they keep getting their fingers
God.
cut until they're not wincing anymore. And there's this one guy with like, he's just like they were like
They got
cutting
all
off his
10.
toes. Yeah,
On
he
that note,
just.
you have to see the Banshees of Inisherin.
No, I don't think I need to see it if it's on that note.
It's
I don't
great.
want to see that happen.
It's just such a good metaphor. I'm curious what you think it's about. It is such a simple story, but it's like so crazy to watch. Can I just tell you a tiny bit of what it's about?
Sure. Yeah. Spoiler
so-
alert for the Banshees of Inisherin that no one saw and no one will see.
It was nominated for an Oscar. It was one of the best films. So Colin Farrell is a very simple man, and he's best friends with this guy who's like a crank, a curmudgeon. And he comes by his house every day, and they hang out every day in this tiny town where there's one bar. And one day he comes over, he's like, hey. And the guy's like, I don't want to hang out. Like, he doesn't want to talk to him. And Colin Farrell's just very simple. Why don't you want to talk? I'm the nicest guy in town. Let's hang out. You're my best friend. He's like, I'm sick of you. I'm sick of your dumb stories. And I don't hate you. I just want to be done with this. I just want to spend my life alone. I want to practice my violin. That's what I love doing. And I just don't want to be your friend anymore. No offense.
Ooh.
And then he keeps bugging him. And then there comes a point where the guy's like, if you talk to me one more time, I'm going to cut off my finger. And then I will leave it there. But the film continues, and it's so insane to watch because you're like, who's more insane, this crank or Colin Farrell,
The guy who
kind of
keeps
can't
coming
get the
by.
hint? Yeah.
I like the crank. I'm a crank, so I
Has
relate
anyone
to
ever
him.
told you I don't want to hang out with you anymore? Has anyone here ever had a friend out of the blue just kind of cut things off and with under the guise of like, I don't like you
It would
I
be
don't
pretty bold for someone to come out and straight up say, I don't want to hang out with you
well,
anymore.
you
But
can infer that, but I guess no matter what, we're lied to if this happened to us, and it's whether or not you saw through the lie. But most of the time a friend cuts you off, it is because they just don't like you anymore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've had to do it.
You've had to cut people off before?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You go straight up to them and you say, "We're done."
No, I have had to do that before. I've had a girl that was pretty persistent afterwards, and I had to ultimately say, it was right around the time I quit drinking, so I had a good excuse of like, I just don't drink anymore. That was kind of our thing.
Oh, great.
And we don't have that in common, and I just need to. And she would talk really loud in public spaces.
Oh, no.
Anytime we'd be out to eat, I would be very embarrassed, and I'd try to like whisper to kind of like tell her what to do, and it would just, people were staring, and
you love to shit talk. So imagine you're seeing someone in the corner, you want to shit talk about them, and she's like, "That one over there?"
Yes,
can't have that.
Love a good shit talk, and I don't mind. Listen, I don't mind getting a little loud when I know people are kind of entertained by eavesdropping on my conversation. I won't be super loud, but I can tell when people are kind of like, this is a fun, like in an Uber, if I'm talking about something, if I'm like gossiping about some celebrity I know dirt on, and I know this person probably knows that celebrity too, I will get louder. I did this recently on a girls' trip. We had a chef come in.
Yeah.
And I was mouthing off about a celebrity that I know some dirt on. I know a lot of shit on. I was shit talking, literally. And I'll tell you later, Brian. And I could tell everyone was kind of like, we should. And I'm like, no, let it out. I want to get this out, because anyone he tells, Nikki Glaser was saying this about this person, I can always deny it, like I'll just fucking deny I said it,
Yeah.
But also, I was reading things I found on Reddit about this person as well that backed it up. And I'd only heard this through stories. And then I saw this whole Reddit thread where it was like, no, these are stories about this person. I was like, is substantiated a word? It's corroborated.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I think both work.
But yeah, I can sense when I'm being entertaining with the octave at which, or the volume with which I'm speaking. And then I can tell some people, my boyfriend doesn't love how loud I can be in public sometimes. And I can't be too loud. I grew up getting shushed a lot in restaurants and stuff because I'm just a loud person. Haven't been in a while, but I think that's more of a power thing now. Like, people are too scared to shush me. So I should probably keep it down is what I'm
I love that. I love giving people a story to tell. I used to do that.
Yes.
Walking through the streets of New York, you always walk past so many strangers, and a game I used to play was called Give 'em a Story. I didn't call it that, but it explains it pretty well. So what I do, I'd be by myself usually, or I'd be with a person. I don't have to be alone, and I'd be walking, and I would just try to say something that they would overhear, that then there'd be a story for them. I'd be on my phone, and I'd go, "I told them only 2 meatballs," or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they'd go to their friend at Starbucks and be like, "This guy was like flipping out about meatballs."
Yes. You end up in a John Mulaney joke. John Mulaney has so many jokes where he's like, eat ass, sell drugs, suck dick. There's always a weird person saying something. I realized this weekend. We were listening to John Mulaney in the car, which is great inspiration. I forget how good it is for me to listen to comedians I love, because it's just their style, or I absorb some of their things that I like about them, and then thus I become better by using some of the things that I already gravitate towards naturally. I'm not doing it because I'm like, people like John Mulaney, I'll do what he does, but I'm like, oh, I like the way he, I've realized something. He's a fantastic writer, no question about it. I talk about him all the time as one of the best stand-up comics out there. We all know it. But the way that he talks and the way he'll change the dynamics of his voice to emphasize things is a lot of what makes him so enjoyable.
Yeah.
And I go, well, I can do that. I'm just talking like a normal person. I sometimes have fun with going and then but I was doing it a lot more this weekend, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And it really colored in. It's like having a coloring book, and you're like, oh, those are good drawings. And then you color it in with the vocal intonails and stuff.
They're tools. They're just tools in your tool belt. I mean, that's why I started smashing watermelons on stage, because
well, I will say that
influence.
I'm finding myself to be a little sexist here, because I do hate when female comics do this mugging after a joke. That I've made compilations of. I've been so bored with my life and so annoyed by some trends in comedy that I've literally made
what is it?
It's this.
Okay.
Oh,
They'll
yeah.
say a punchline and then go,
Yeah,
For
yeah,
those of you
yeah.
who can't see the video,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
a
looking to-
perplexed
I'm-
face.
Okay, if you watch Succession, Shiv Roy is always going, huh? She's
Oh,
doing
yeah, it's her
she's
expression
tucking
for
her
sure.
head
Oh, yeah.
back and
Yeah,
then
do a
looking to the
double
side
chin.
like,
I think
it's that.
I think
After
Amy
you go,
Schumer
and then
invented
he's-
that.
Amy did invent it.
Yeah.
Which, thank you, Amy. Like I love Amy invented a lot of things that I don't think she gets credit for, and I think that she gets thrown under the bus now because she, people just get tired of seeing someone too much, and then they have to. That's what happens. Like that's why I don't want to be too famous, is because they'll turn on you eventually. But she was, she was. You were friends with Amy, right, Brian?
Yeah, I did her website for 7 years.
That's right.
That was her
When did you get the call
amyschumer.com.
that she's like, we need to upgrade?
The
I
I'm tired
told
of
webmaster.
her.
running my website through GoDaddy.
She's
Yeah?
so loyal. Like there was no
She is.
indication that she was ever going to drop me. And then when Trainwreck came out,
Aw.
I had to call her and say, I can't do your website anymore. I'm just a guy. Like
Yeah.
you need a company to do this. And then she was like, that makes sense. And then that was it. I was
Oh
done.
wow.
Yeah.
Um,
I got out of there.
Yeah. She she definitely does. She would do the thing where she goes, and then she kind of does like an afterwards. Like there is that
Yes.
pause. There are other female comics that do it too. I do it. Like there are definitely Amy mannerisms I've picked up. There's just anyone I watch, I'll pick up something that they do, and you could accuse me of stealing or whatever, but it's not conscious. But this mugging thing is taking up 25% of these comics act, and I don't see men doing it. I could see John going, what? Huh? Like, and at least he doesn't overuse it though, I don't feel. But maybe I'm being sexist here and I'm just like more jealous of women. And
I'll
I
give you
compare
a
myself
man
more
one.
to them.
I have a man one.
You have a man one? Please
Yeah,
tell
because
us.
I do it all the time because I love it. And I think
Right.
this
I've
is
started
from...
doing the mugging too, and it works. And I'm like, I'm disgusted why this works, because the audience does love like a close up of like a confused woman. Okay, what works?
Well, my favorite comic is probably Norm Macdonald, and he's probably the one who I got this from. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of comics where you just lean into a punchline and you go,
And you say,
and that's my
"Zada."
punchline.
Yes.
That's my punchline.
You do talk like that.
That works.
It totally works. I don't think it works. It gives it a little boost, but you gotta be willing. It's gotta be funny already, and you can't rely on it too much. So I don't fault you for throwing that in.
That's what my whole set is. I just do this over and over again.
No, you have actually funny jokes. But yes, I've been watching a lot of Norm recently. Did you see his SNL monologue when he hosted SNL a year and a half after being fired?
No.
No, I guess well,
Oh my
probably,
God,
but I don't.
you have to see. You have to watch it again. It was on Reddit. I saw it the other day. He pretty much says they fired me from the show, and he goes, "It's been a year and a half." He goes, "They fired me because I'm not funny. What happened the past year and a half, and now I'm funny?" He was like, he goes, "Nothing's
yeah.
changed. I haven't gotten funnier. The only thing that's happened is." This show has gotten less funny. This show sucks. So now, and he pretty much is like, and then instead of saying at the end, he goes, you know how they always go, it's going to be a great show. He goes, it's going to be a terrible show tonight. We've got Snoop Dogg. It was so good. But you can hear the writers booing. I watched it because it said, listen to Norm Macdonald's SNL monologue, and the writers are booing because he pretty much says it's a terrible show.
Wow.
It's the only thing that could have happened. But he gets to it in a way that you can't deny. It's like he hasn't changed in a year and a half. Why is this guy that was fired for not being funny suddenly let back on? The only logical answer is that the bar has been lowered. It's so good. And you can't hate him for it because he's just so damn lovable. All right,
Yeah.
we've got a lot of show ahead of us. We're here with Brian, Noah, and Anya. Will be back right after this. We're back. I gotta say, this weekend met a lot of besties and haven't had this kind of response to something new on the podcast in a while, but people are on board with Brian Frangie.
Oh,
They're
really?
excited. I got a lot of side comments of just like, I'm a bestie, we hug and everything, and then while we're taking a picture, they're just like, I know, I really love Brian, like through their smile. That's so good. Brian's a part of the show. So they
Wow.
are fucking on board, dude. And I'm not lying. It was at least I would say 3 people probably.
Well,
Maybe
that's how
2
many
that I'm
people.
bumping up.
That's how many people I Venmo to do that. So
Well, it was good. It was well spent because it made me feel like, oh, okay, I made the right choice. I'm taking all the credit for people liking you. It was an easy choice to make because I was just thinking about you doing your little game of like give them a story or whatever that game was called on the street in New York. I think our friendship re-upped because I ran into you on 8th Avenue after I was either on my way to get froyo during my froyo addiction of 2000. I'm going to say 14. 16. Yeah. It was many years.
It is so fascinating that you remember that.
13 handles. 12 handles. 13 handles.
Yeah.
You're talking about in New York
handles?
like 10 years ago.
16 handles. Thank you. 10 years ago in New York. On the street, we were on 8th Avenue. You were walking south. I was maybe walking north. Yeah, I was living with Anya, so I was like, headed back to my apartment, I'm guessing, because I was coming up from 17th Street.
I was walking back from UCB, so that UCB was at 26th Street.
So you were walking downtown, I was walking up, and then you were with a girl that you were dating at the time.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Right? Now I remember this. This is actually
you not
different.
Remember? Now I'm questioning my choice.
No, I ran into you twice then because there was one time I was leaving UCB and it was on like 26th Street and I was like, oh my God!
At UCB, yes.
And I think we discussed the fact that we ran into each other previously and you asked me about this girl.
That's it. And then we walked for a little bit together. No?
Yeah. Well, I think so. I think so
too. And that was before I even got the show Not Safe, which then I hired Brian. My boyfriend and I hired Brian. I told my boyfriend about Brian. I was like, I think we got a guy to do our digital stuff. He's run Amy Schumer's website until she was doing Trainwreck and then he quit out of just like, realizing his
sheer
limitations.
Fear.
And so Chris had one call with you and was like, I love this guy. And he's not someone who I often have to be kind of careful about, like, you're going to love this person. He's kind of like, let me decide. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't want to be told who he's going to like, which I totally get. Because I will say that when Chris Convey and I first met, the night before we met, my friend who hired Chris and who also was my showrunner was like, you're really going to like this Chris guy. I think there's going to be a thing with you too. Mm-hmm. And I was like, don't you tell me who I'm going to like. I don't like a setup. I don't like expectations. I don't like anyone like kind of watching me meet someone and being like, are they going to hit it up?
Yeah.
And so I at first was very reluctant to give him a chance because I didn't want Kim Gamble to win and to like be like, I told you so and take credit for my crush. Mm-hmm. But, and then cut to 2 months later crying in her office. I love him. He doesn't talk to me. She's like, you don't talk to him. Okay, so Brian, then you flew out to LA and did you move to LA?
That was a great text. I also remember when I first started talking to Chris on the phone, he called me and I was in the supermarket buying bread and meats for a barbecue. And I was talking to him while I was like, listen, this is like, in my perspective, this is not Chris Convey. This is a potential boss calling you to interview you. And so I had to pick up. I picked up and I was like, hello, I'd love to talk, but I'm buying bread and meats and I'm about to go to a barbecue. And then
he loved this.
Yeah, he's like, okay. I was like, should I keep you on the phone or should I call you back? And he said, keep me on the phone.
There was the friendship that was set in stone. Like, he probably loved your honesty and he likes a trip to the store.
Yeah, a good trip to the store.
Through the phone.
Anyone who pluralizes meats, you got to be friends with too.
Well, it was multiple meats. But the text I got from you was one of the best texts of my life.
What did it say?
I remember this. I was also walking to the store.
Oh my God.
I was walking to Whole Foods on Houston. Whole Foods on, oh my God. I have to say something about Erewhon. I'm sure you have lots of opinions about Erewhon.
Oh yeah, we've talked about Erewhon. Yeah.
Okay, but first the text. I was walking to Whole Foods and I just got a text and it said it was from you. And that'd be weird if it wasn't. And it said, Brian, would you be willing to move? It was an
Amber Alert.
It was an Amber Alert, and I said I got to get out of town. It was from you, and it said, Brian, would you be willing to move to LA for a job? And I was like, of course I would. Are you kidding me? I also just had a recent series of calamities that made me really want to get out of New York. I was like, this is perfect. Yeah.
What were those calamities? Do you have your list of calamities?
God. It didn't work out with a girl on 8th Avenue.
Yeah, that girl.
We did break up and I had to move back. I didn't have to. I preferred to move back to Long Island and live with my dad. But it's... Well, first
too
thing,
much.
It's too long of a story, but the first thing that happened was I was going out for a job. I was very far along in the process of being a writer for The Daily Show. And then one of my arch nemesises, it was between me and another person. And this is also a blind packet submission. So I got really far in the process, and they told me in the interview it was down to you and one other person. And then I didn't get it. My arch nemesis did. And that was...
Oh my God, I'm dying to know who this arch nemesis was.
I
Are they still around? Are they still kicking around?
No, they've had a fall from grace that was greater than Hitler. And I was devastated. And then, long story short, I was robbed. I got into a car accident. I broke my wrist, all in like the same day. And then you texted me. It wasn't that day, but it's a very long story.
You robbed, car accident, broke wrist. Were any of those connected?
Well, I was playing football in Brooklyn. I had a Zog Sports football team, and we were playing.
Was like a group. I almost joined one for soccer once.
Yeah,
it's just like a meetup group kind of thing for sports.
And now Zog is an anti-Semitic slur, but
oh geez,
or is it Zog? Yeah. Anyway, I was playing football, and I had
your list. Is it Zog?
Is that one of the anxiety things on your list, Anya? Zog. I had my car parked, and it was Halloween weekend. I had slept over my friend's house who had a Halloween party, and so I had a bunch of shit in my car. I had a laptop in my car, a phone in my car, and I had to park the car out in front of the football field because I had nowhere else to put it. And while I was playing football, someone threw a brick through my car window, shattering it, and they stole $5,000 worth of stuff, which is grand larceny. And when we got back to the car, I called the police, and like it's so fascinating.
As opposed to larceny, they're like, "This is grand."
This is grand. They said they said that.
That is interesting. Okay, grand larceny.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? That just means that if you catch the criminal, that's a bigger offense. But
bigger offense because they stole over $5,000.
It just you get to brag that you were grand.
Yeah,
larceny?
It's a better crime to brag about. If it was just,
okay. So you broke your wrist while playing.
Well, so I didn't even know. My wrist hurt a little bit, but they broke into the car. I called the police, and the police do not give a shit about robbery. They will not come out. They don't care. But I told them I had a tracking device on my phone, and so I used my friend's phone. I had Find My iPhone, and I said, I know where they are. I literally have their location. The person who robbed me, I have their location. And then they said, okay, fine. And they took me into the squad car, and they drove me away. And while they drove me away, my friends were sitting with my car with the broken window, and I had placed my gym bag with my iPod mini and my clothes next to the car. And we drove off in pursuit of this criminal, and we got to his literal apartment building. We knew the apartment building he was in, and the police were like, there are known perps in that building. And so I was like, well, this probably is a perp. And so we went in there, they knocked on one person's door, and they said, did someone just come in here with a bag? And they said no. And then the police were like, well, that's it. We can't do anything more for you. And I'm like, he's literally in this fucking building with $5,000 worth of stuff. So they said, we can't help you. They drive me back to my Jeep not my Jeep, my car. While I was gone.
Well, it's a Jeep. It's an open air.
It's an open air. Now it's a Jeep. While I was gone, a totally separate person came and stole my gym bag.
My friends. Why did you leave your gym bag in your car?
I left it with my two friends next to the car, and I said, I got to go with the cops. I was frantic.
Yeah, you're in distress.
It was on the ground next to the car. Oh my God. Okay, that's another thing. But they sat in the car to wait, and they didn't realize the gym bag's out there. Some guy pulled up and just stole the gym bag. So I got robbed twice in the same fucking day.
And broke your wrist and not knowing.
And then
but I'm guessing your wrist pain might have been psychological, if we're getting back to that.
My wrist was hurting. Trauma. And then I was like, you know what? My wrist hurts a lot. And so the next day or a couple of days later, I have my dad drive me to the doctor. They do an x-ray of my wrist. My wrist is broken.
From what?
I dove for an
Football?
interception and landed. Yeah, I dove for an interception. I didn't intercept it. Nothing good happened.
Were
We
you
lost
trying
the
to
game.
make friends at this? Like, you do a lot of things to make friends. Were you trying to make friends with Zog Sports?
Back in my
Not judging it.
back then,
Sounds judgmental.
I was not trying to make friends.
You were
I
just
was,
trying to have some fun.
I had a couple of friends. I had 2 friends.
Brian was telling me about a time in his life in LA where he had no friends.
Well, yeah.
Like,
Just
I'm
you.
starting to laugh. This was like, no, because I had left town. Like, me, Chris, and Tim had all moved away, and he had no friends.
Yeah.
And he was just going to like lantern lightings.
I was
Lantern
just so
lighting.
desperate for friends.
Like in Echo Park, like there's like Chinese lantern lightings. He
I
was just
tried
going to
so
events.
much.
Well, it's adorable.
Well, just to finish the story,
Yeah, okay, sorry.
So they said, we got to send you for an x-ray. I had my car back, although the window was broken. I did that thing that, poor people do when they duct tape a piece of plastic over the window.
Ugh.
While I'm driving to get my wrist x-rayed, somebody rear ends me.
Oh,
Somebody rear ends me.
this is all within a couple days.
This is all within less than a week from each other. And someone rear ends me, and then it's one of those guys who rear ends you and then immediately gets out of the car and is like, "What the hell's happening?" He gets out of the car.
He's mad at you?
Yeah,
He's
'cause
mad
his
at the
foot went off
situation.
brake.
Oh, God.
It was on
He
Sunrise
knows
Highway.
you don't have insurance. You got a fucking trash bag in your window.
He gets
And
out of
right
the
then,
car.
You got a
Yankee
broken
text.
wrist. You're like, you're already like,
I'm one of those people who is in despair. And he gets out of the car and he goes, "This is my mom's car. You got to help me out. You can't, please, can we not call the police, please?" He starts doing that thing where he like rubs the spot on the car that he hit. He's like, "It's okay. It's okay." And I was like, you know what? It's fine. I can't,
that's
it's
nice
fine.
of you.
I just let it go. I get to the doctor and I realize that I really did get injured in that car accident. I have like my back hurts.
Whiplash.
But it didn't last very long. So it was
Okay.
totally fine. That guy was fine.
And then you get a text from me how much sooner after?
like 4 or 5 days.
Oh, that's great.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
4 or 5 days later.
I was a little premature on asking you if you'd move.
Why is that text important to you, Brian?
Oh, well, it was my first job. It was my first ever job in the
Oh.
industry. I didn't work for anybody before that. I got close to the Daily Show. I didn't get it. And then other than that, I was just a piece of shit.
No,
And
you
all
weren't a
of
piece
that
of shit,
is-
and that's why. That's why he gets the job.
a
That's why I
rotten
thought
piece of
to give
shit.
him the job, not only because he's talented, but because he's a nice person. And I think that's what, like, talent can take you so far. But like, I don't know. I wouldn't have hired someone who I thought was more talented than Brian if they were more of an ass. Like, he's just a good guy.
So had
And,
you guys
so it
done
pays
any
off.
work together? Or were you
No.
just friendly?
What had you done? Had you done anything for
I
me,
opened-
website wise?
I was the host for you multiple times at the Comedy Attic.
Right. Okay.
I think
In
it was your
Bloomington,
first.
where-
If I'm not mistaken, is that where your first headlining gig
yeah,
was?
it was.
I hosted your first ever
2010.
headlining gig, so
Oh
I'm
my
sure you had like a
God.
special
Oh.
like memory of like, oh well, you were the first person that
Yeah,
ever
you
hosted.
were so nice, and we hung out there backstage and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
you were just you were so, and I think it was this show that we were doing because it was like Chris and I, and then we had, we were just trying to fill it with our friends, like you have these opportunities, you just want to give, and I remember hearing that story of your life and being like, oh, this is so exciting to give someone who's so down and out.
Yeah.
Like a cool thing that aside from someone who's not going to appreciate it. Like, you just want
Yeah.
people to appreciate things.
Well, you're a
So
giver.
then you moved to LA.
You've
And
given
then
me a
we
lot of
left.
things.
We left.
And then you
well, that's-
abandoned me at my time of deepest
And
sorrow.
then you had to go to these events. Where did you find events to go to make friends? Because I think we have a lot of listeners who, and even me, I've moved to new towns, and sometimes you just don't have friends. How do you make friends?
Yeah, I mean, when you're alone in a new town, it's sheer desperation. Which it's looking back on it now, I was like so stupid. All I had to do was just go to open mics, go to the Improv, and I would have made some friends. But it was just so disheartening for me to start over on the open mic scene after doing New York for 10 years.
If you could have, you would have.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
There's no way you were going to do that. It just wasn't the right thing for you at the time. It would have been demoralizing in a different
Yes.
way than
So-
going to a lantern lighting.
Yes, so I went on different apps. There was a bunch of different apps. There was meetup groups, and I would just look at like the events of the city and be like, maybe I'll meet someone. Literally, I went to like a Chinese lantern lighting thing, an art exhibit, and I go there and I'm like, I wonder if I'll talk to anybody while I'm here. And I'm just looking at like
Brian.
the beautiful
and then
lanterns.
You had one friend
That's
who
so
you did
cool.
it. Can you say? Was there one person?
My
that
rat
you were-
friend.
Wow.
I wasn't gonna say it. But
I had my
that's
rat
what he
friend.
said to me the other day at breakfast. He was like, and I had one rat friend. And I go, what are you talking about?
Was he an actual rat?
No. Well, that would be better actually.
I mean,
but no,
you
he
like
was
those
a
animals.
figurative rat. He's not really a rat. I just like calling him a rat friend because he was very close.
But you didn't like each other is what
No,
my point
we
was.
didn't
you
like
didn't
each
enjoy
other.
each other. You just
No.
it was out of necessity to
A
hang out.
friendship of convenience. And
Did he have a rat? Am I like remembering that wrong? Did he have a pet rat or something?
no. He just was a little weaselly, and so maybe
But
he's
you
more of a
wouldn't-
weasel.
You would like not actively not want to hang out with this person, but then you would because you had
Well, when you're
nothing
so
else.
lonely, you have no
Yeah.
options, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's either that, and then I joined a dodgeball league, and I would just go. Nobody at the dodgeball league wanted to be friends with me because I wasn't dedicated enough to the craft of hucking the balls, and I got pelted like crazy. I hurt my arm. People would hit me in the face. They'd laugh at me. They'd point. They go, because people in LA, they are obsessed with dodgeball. It's like pickleball now in Florida. They are intense. They can throw the ball like 50 miles an hour, and I would just get the crap beaten out of me, and then we'd go get drinks after.
I really
No one would talk to
admire
me.
you for just going to these things solo. It takes a lot
It's
of
hard to make friends in adulthood.
Oh, yeah.
bravery to just go to stuff alone. I'm trying to think
Yeah.
of stuff I've gone to alone. I know I've done it before. I'm
The
not.
Taylor Swift parties?
Oh yeah, Taylor Swift stuff. Even the Taylor Swift concert. I mean, I was meeting a bestie there, but
yeah.
and I'm going alone actually this Saturday in Houston. I'm going 100% alone. But that's that. I guess that's a similar thing. Even though I'm going to be entertained the whole time, and so I don't really have to talk to anyone. So it's like that fear of no one's good.
I think that's going to be
me.
great for you. I think you're going to have a cathartic experience that would be much greater than if you're with someone else. You could you could have no qualms about going nuts.
Yeah, that's true. I do. I wonder how it'll be. And then the next night I go with my mom, and we're front row, and so that's
Oh,
going to be extremely special. And so I'm very excited about this weekend. And I'm flying to LA tomorrow. I'm filming a couple game shows, including Family Feud.
Oh my God.
And my family is all coming out. And today we're going to a fitting because no one knows what to wear. And of course, I got a stylist for myself and asked them, do you want a stylist? No. And then 2 days before it's happening, they're like, I don't know what to wear, Nikki. Like, this isn't fair. I mean, it wasn't exactly like that, but it's like there's panic mode now. And so I go, okay. And so we're all going to a fitting later today.
Are you allowed to say
figure
which
out-
family?
Which family? My family.
I know, but like, is everyone like Lauren and Matt?
Oh
and-
yeah. So my mom, my dad, and Lauren and Matt
Whoa.
are all going to be on it. I
Is
just
this
saw
Steve
Bert Kreischer
Harvey?
post a picture of his family at the taping, so I'm like, yeah, then I'm allowed to say that I'm going to tape this. Yeah, Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey, yeah.
And then we're playing against another family, and I won't say who that is, but it's a
Ooh.
famous guy from a band where their tongues are out all the time.
Okay.
So that'll be maybe
Wow.
cool. So you don't know that a lot of bands do that.
Yeah, Kiss.
Yeah, and I bet the Killers one time were like, "La," or something. But yeah, so Anya, back to your anxieties. You went through this list, and then I made Matt say all of his anxieties, and then I said all of mine. And I do feel like we got somewhere through it. And then we played a question game where I was just asking questions about, I just pulled up like deep questions to get to know each other. And we just all were answering questions
That
about like
was
what
so
was.
fun.
It was so fun. And Anya was like, how did you even come up with that? I'm like, I just Google questions. If you're ever bored and you want to get to know people, because people don't like to talk about real stuff. But if you're prompted with a question, you kind of get into some real stuff. We learned some
I was
stuff about each
wondering
other.
if you were asking the 33 questions that the New York Times was asking or saying will help you fall in love.
Right.
From
No,
years ago.
I was kind of looking for that at first, but I forgot the number. I knew it was like a specific number of questions. So, yeah, there's 33 questions, I guess, that you should ask your partner, and then you stare deeply into each other's eyes for like 4 uninterrupted minutes, and then you're supposed to definitely fall in love with them. But did you
Wow.
learn anything about Matt or about yourself during that question game?
Yeah, I was like shocked multiple times with the stuff he was telling you. But as always, I black out and I can't remember what it was now that you asked
Yeah, I know.
me.
It was a long day.
It was
And then
a
we had
long
2
day.
shows that night. And I will say I was gifted by one of our besties with the Taylor Swift Midnights album that has a signed
Oh my God.
picture of her inside of it. It's my favorite. Wait, well, that's not it.
That's
it's
a
my
great
favorite
cover.
picture of her. I know this Midnight stuff is done the best of any of her art stuff. But it's a picture of her on the couch that I'm obsessed with, and she signed it. I'm gonna smell it. And but it was this really nice fan. I forget his name right now, but I've tagged him on the photos on Instagram that I put this up on. But he and his I think his boyfriend, maybe his friend, came up and were like, and I saw them holding this Midnight's album, and they go, "Do you have?" And I go, "No." And they go, "Taylor Swift's autograph." And my answer is yes, I do have Taylor Swift's autograph. But I said no, and they go, and they thought I was saying no to her autograph, but I meant like I don't have this album. So I said, no, I don't. And they go, well, now you do. And so I just want to say to that fan, I did lie to you unintentionally. I do have her autograph, but I don't have this album. And I certainly don't have her autograph this big. And I don't have it on my favorite picture of her ever. All I have it on is a bunch of folklore CDs. And those are kind of a dime a dozen because she did so many of them, even though I'm grateful for everyone who's given me one of those. But this is a very special gift. And I was also given a friendship bracelet that said Good Girl on it because of the Good Girl tour. I was given a collage with a really nice message on the back. I was given a card. It was such nice gifts. One slightly better than the rest, but they were. I appreciate any little trinket, any little card, any
This
thing.
is amazing.
No,
I mean, what
so
amazing
freaking nice.
fans. I want to.
They were so
I know.
nice.
Yeah.
I met them, those guys.
Yeah, they were so cute, and
There were so many
here's the
cute
story.
people that came to the merch booth too. They were like asking me how to get out of their own way and become better songwriters and how to succeed in music. And I was just like, I think you just have to write songs that you love to hear. And then you just have to be a nice person and get out in the world and like make relationships like you guys were talking about. It's so underrated to just like pick up the phone when you're buying meats and be nice to someone that you've been nice, like hung out with in the past, and like say yes to those.
Well, I like that thing
texts.
of writing songs that you want to hear, or that I read somewhere that some art is best when you think about what is not in the world that I want to consume. What is something I need right now that hasn't been done? How can I make that? That's a great place to start, no matter what you're doing. And I listened to you know who Rick Ross is?
Oh, hell
Is that
yeah.
his name?
Ruben?
Rick Rubin?
Oh.
Not Rick Ross, sorry. But yes, Rick Ross is also a music producer. But Rick Rubin, I always get them confused. I wonder why. And Rick Rubin, legendary music producer, but he doesn't, all these videos are going around, like viral videos of him saying like, I don't play a musical instrument. I don't know how to work a soundboard. I just know I have taste, and artists trust me based on my taste of what I like and what I don't like. And he's not even a snob about his taste. I kind of felt bad after listening to this interview with him because she was asking about like, does he have better taste than other people? He's like, no, I don't have better. That you can't say that a Rihanna album is better than a Beyonce album. You can't compare the two. Rihanna is making a Rihanna album and Beyonce is making a Beyonce album. Is Beyonce making a better Rihanna album than Rihanna could make? No, she's making a better. It's apples to oranges. The idea of any album being better than another one is ridiculous because that artist couldn't have made that Rihanna album because they're not Rihanna. So it's not even. You wouldn't want them to make a Rihanna album because it wouldn't sound like them. And
I like that.
I liked it too, and I'm not completely paraphrasing it right. So the podcast is called Honestly with Barry Weiss, Weiss, Barry Bari. If you want to listen to the Rick Rubin, because it's all about creativity. It was just the way he speaks is so soothing too. I mean, he has a great voice, and he's just chill, and I like the way he like looks at creativity as something that you can tap into. And he said, the best way to tap into it is to clear the thoughts. And the best way to clear your thoughts is meditation, like get closer to your real self. And it harkens back to the thing I was talking about. I probably talked about before on the podcast because I talk about it all the time because I'm learning it. And my voice lessons is like, he's always like, you're trying to sound like Taylor Swift. And I can't help it. Like I've only heard Taylor Swift sing these songs that I'm trying to sing. I don't know another way to sing them. It doesn't even make sense for me to sing them in a different way. I don't know. I'm just following what I know. And he's like, well, that's what it would be good for you to cover a song that you've never heard before, which I wouldn't want to do that though, because I cover songs because I like the song already, right? Like, so it's really hard to figure out how to sing it best for me. And then that's going to be the best, not to sound exactly like Taylor Swift. And I think I've always known that, like mimicking an artist is not going to be the right way to go, but I never, I guess, let it in that I could be the only way to get because close to good as Taylor Swift is not to ever sound like her. It's to sound like the best version of me, which might be a completely different voice, completely different skill set. But whatever gets my soul to come out, whether it's like garbled and like sounds terrible, sounds like a lawnmower going over some rocks, like if that's what's truly in my soul and conveys the meaning behind the feeling that I'm trying to give you, and you get that feeling from the song, then I've done the job. So like your voice is just a tool to get the feeling through. It doesn't matter if it sounds pitch perfect or not, because we can all think of, because she was talking, she goes, what's the difference between a wedding singer who has the greatest trained musically trained voice, like knows all how to do every kind of sound, and the difference between someone who, and Adele. And he's like, well, Adele is able to, and sure there are wedding singers that are able to do this, but Adele is able to convey a feeling through her voice. And let's not even talk about Adele. Let's talk about anyone who you really like that doesn't have the greatest voice, perfection-wise, and you like them and you don't know why. It's because they are able, through their shitty voice, to give you the feeling that this song is meant to convey.
Oh, yeah.
Better than someone who could do it in a really perfect way. And it allows, when you hear that, it allows you to like, okay, well, then let me like loosen up these rules I have for myself to sound perfect, because that's actually impeding the message I want to convey.
Yeah, it's
and
like
I think
it's like Bob Dylan. I mean, Bob Dylan sounds like,
Yes.
he's like screeching through a vent. And
Yeah.
no one
It
makes
sounds
me.
like it's always AM radio. Yeah.
But he's
I was
amazing.
listening
He
to
makes
a
you
band-
emote.
I was listening to a band over the weekend on the radio, and I was like, what is this? Ugh. Like it was this, I'm not going to say who they are, but they're very big right now. Maybe you won't know them, but I mentioned them to Matt, and he was like, these guys are like in the top 10 of Americana music or some. I'll find out. I forgot. But anyway, I was like, is this from 1935? Like her voice was like, and I was just like hating it. But I listened to the whole song, and then I was like, I get it. She's really conveying a feeling. I don't want to listen to this voice necessarily, but I'm getting the story.
Yes. You got the feeling.
Yeah.
You don't need that feeling in your life. I think we're drawn to things because we either that feeling resonates with us, or we're void of that feeling and we need to feel it. And so you just weren't in the mood for that. There are some people's voices, that really aren't for me. And maybe that's because they're not doing a good job of delivering the feeling.
Or maybe it's a formula. Maybe what Anya was sensing is that because this song is in the top 10 or whatever, it's just following a formula, and it goes against what Anya was saying previously about staying true to her own voice, what Rick Rubin was saying, what Nikki, you have said about your own comedy performance and being authentic on stage. It's like when you're not authentic, and with what you were saying, Nikki, like that is creativity, when you can just be so authentic and not care about outside influence, and you put that out into the world, and people receive it.
Not giving people what you think they want, because you can't possibly predict. You think you can because you see what goes well on TikTok. You see what you admire, people that you like, and you go, oh, if I do that. I think that's why the mannerisms that are, poisoning female stand-up comedy, of this like kind of like these faces of like, what? These little mugs after the joke. Those bug me, not because they don't work or because they're not funny, they seem insincere to
Oh,
me.
yeah.
If we come back to anything that bugs me about stand-up comedy, it's insincerity. And I think it's just performative, and I don't like it because it's something that you had planned to do, which is not a problem. We all plan our sets, but it comes from a place of I'm gonna do this thing because I've seen it work for other people, and that's what I don't like. And it's not that I don't like that they do it. I don't like when I do it and I'm projecting onto them. So please don't write these people and say I'm talking shit about you, because you'll be able to start seeing this in every female comic.
You won't stop seeing
including
it.
myself. You won't stop seeing it. It's everywhere. These mugs, after that they land their joke, then they go.
Well,
Yeah.
here's why I
They
don't
look
like
to the-
them.
both to the sides.
Like when Amy does it or did it or, continues to do it or whatever. It's
was
funny,
coming
but
from
it's
her.
not the punchline. And with a lot of these jokes, I've seen the things you're talking about. That's the punchline. So they're like, set up. This guy said this crazy thing to me. And then this mug. And then it's like big laugh. And then they move on to the next joke. Whereas Amy would be like, mug, okay. And then she goes on to deliver the punchline or make it funnier.
Amy's was a space for the audience to laugh where she didn't have to talk. It was giving her something to do for the laugh to come out, but still giving them something. So as they're laughing, she's making the face. And you're right, Anya. I think that although a lot of these girls do have great punchlines and they are good comics, that's why it makes me mad. I'm like, you don't need this shit. You're adding these like tags, and I do stuff all the time that is so annoying in stand-up and stuff that I've done that I could roll my eyes at. So these are probably younger comics, so I should be nicer, but
yes.
I'm just calling out things that I'm noticing that annoy me, and I'm saying that I've done them before. Please don't come after these girls. Don't say Nikki Glaser's talking shit about you. I'm just calling out a thing I'm noticing. I've done it before too. We all make mistakes as artists. It's inherently not funny itself. And I get doing it if you're doing crowd work. If someone says what their job is and it's something weird and you need a beat to think about what you're going to say next. Because you need crowd work, you need a little bit of thinking space, generally. A couple seconds. A mug to the left and the right buys you that. But if your actual act is that, you should have a plan already for what to do. And you can use it once or twice. I don't mind it. But with every joke, I mean, I saw a clip recently and I counted 10 times that this little face was made. And it's
a
just
crutch for sure. And maybe it's also a trend, and that's annoying to me when you see the trend throughout, like in music, when everybody's was for a while they're doing what is that called? I forgot the term for it. I'll be home for Christmas.
Oh, like baby voice?
Like weird baby voice, but like not enunciating, like Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
And then it stopped. Like it's not as pervasive. And then I was listening to like an
it's
older
trends.
Taylor Swift song from maybe like 7-8 years ago. And she was doing a lot of this like cool melodic thing. Maybe it wasn't Taylor, but a lot of songs at the time, 7-8 years ago, were doing like tons of like arpeggiated melodies. I'll think of examples and bring them in, but that doesn't happen as much anymore. So there are all these weird trends.
Dramaturgically, it didn't work for you. Wait, what's the word that
Dramaturgically. I need to watch that.
Dramaturgically, it didn't work for you. Okay, well, we will talk about more and after this, and we're going to do Reddit dump, I think. Our first time doing that with Brian, and so stay here. We'll be right back. All right, so let's get to Reddit dump before I forget.
While you're looking up that Reddit dump, one thing that men do in songs is they go, oh, like that.
Oh yes,
chanting.
That was the thing I was thinking of.
I hate that.
A big,
Like that.
I'm sick
There
of
was
that.
a
I
lot
want it
of
to be gone. I want it to be
happening.
gone.
Oh, there's also a trend where in pop songs there was this. It sounds like a group of guys in an alley going, "Hey, hey."
Oh yeah.
That
What
is
the fuck
that's
is
even
that?
in a recent Taylor Swift song, and I like that she used it because she's kind of like, I feel like she has to know that that's being overused, but she was like, let's throw it in anyway. But yeah, if you start listening, there also is a YouTube video where I learned about that, where it's like if you listen to every pop song from like 2015 on, you hear hey.
I hate that.
Hey. It's just like sounds like a group of guys walking down the street going hey, like in lockstep, going like hey.
Sounds like Nazis to me.
It really, it's not great.
Yeah,
Okay,
men
Reddit
chanting
dump.
makes me sick.
This is your Reddit dump. All right, so this one is actually apropos because I'm about to go do Family Feud with my fam, and we are trying to prepare for it. And I've been playing Family Feud on my phone. And I've been playing it with my parents. We're not good at it, but the key to being good at Family Feud is not being good at the game. The show is a comedy show. So it's being funny, saying funny answers, giving things for Steve Harvey to do the new female comic thing, which is look to the left, look to the right, look baffled. Like that is Steve Harvey's number one move. And the funniest thing is when he's reacting to crazy answers. And this was one that I sent to my whole family to say, this is what I want out of you, is this kind of random shit. So this is in like the final round, where they have to answer very quickly. And this is what this guy said. Noah, hit it.
Name something a burglar would not want to see when he breaks into a house. Right.
Naked grandma.
Naked, huh?
I don't want to see that either.
What?
Naked grandma. And it was the second answer. It was just like naked.
What did it say? Did it really
There's
say
the
naked
face.
grandma?
It said
His face
occupants.
is. Yeah,
They
naked
really
occupant.
stretched it for that one. They give you naked grandma as occupant.
Yeah. But
Lenient
just
judges.
naked grandma. And I said, Matt, because Matt is the one in our family that can probably say the weirdest thing. My mom actually is going to do the lightning round or whatever it is, because they tell you like, who do you want to do that for your family?
This is gonna be amazing.
So it's gonna be hilarious. But that is the example I gave. Like, I need you guys to be this random and this weird and this irreverent. Okay. Let me look at a fun word one. Okay. This one I wanted to bring up because it was we've talked about it on the podcast recently. Okay. This is dating_advice is the subreddit. Is it too much to bake the guy's favorite dessert for the second date? I just had a very nice first date yesterday, and he already asked me if I was free to go out for dinner on Saturday. This girl is 29. He's 31. He was really nice and sweet and a sweet guy, and he also insisted on paying for our drinks, even though I kept offering as well. Mistake. Then when he saw it was raining, to keep offering. Just offer once and then stop it. Then when he saw it was raining, he offered to walk to his place that was closed. He offered to walk to his place that was closed. We grabbed an umbrella and he walked me home. I am the kind of person that loves giving, and my main love languages are acts of service and gifting. That doesn't mean
not your
you can't
love
say what
language.
your love language is, the thing you like to do. And I do want to also show that I appreciate him. So I was thinking of baking him his favorite dessert, and this girl's from Canada because it's favorite dessert, to give it to him on Saturday. I'm a bit scared, however, and unsure, as I don't want to come off as too much. Any opinions? Thank you. And then, let me just say that I'm scrolling down to read the comments to be like, surely they told this woman, do not do this.
Disaster.
Bad idea.
Yeah.
You had a good
No.
date. No gifts for the guy. He's
You
the
can't
masculine
show him that
energy.
you love him at all yet.
Literally, I was just texting with Spade this morning because we had to do this Las Vegas interview and we were both on KTLA. And it was really funny, but we were talking about girls when they're like, he was talking about girls saying like, not getting back to him and just one girl wrote back like, he's like, hey, you want to go to dinner tonight? And she just wrote Coachella. And like, we were talking about and he has a joke that says, and by the way, Spade and I are going to be in Vegas next Saturday at the Venetian. But he said that he has a bit that I've heard before, but I want him to do it again, about how girls will say they're bad at texting. And then he gets around them and they're like, like the whole time they're texting, they're like, I'm bad at texting, sorry. They don't get back to you. And I was telling him about a friend I had who convinced herself that this guy was in a train accident and that maybe she needed to like,
This
check
is
in on
me.
him. I know.
You can say it. You can say it's me. I love it.
So Anya went on a date with a guy. It went well.
He was
She didn't hear
famous.
from him.
We're not going to say who, but he
yeah,
was, which makes it more embarrassing.
Oh my God,
for
it's
me.
kind of like Frangie's thing of like getting the guy who got the job at the Daily Show. This person was really killing it at the time. They've had quite a fall from grace since then. Still
He was
killing it because
doing like
cancel culture's
a
not real.
movie that ended up getting nominated for an Oscar, I think, for something.
Yes. So Anya has a polite kiss on the cheek with this guy like after the date. Then he heads off. She goes back down to the subway. They don't really hear from each other. I think you probably sent him an email afterwards or something. Like, this was before getting to I Do, the book that changed everything for all of us. And so then like a few days later, there was like an Amtrak derailment, like, I don't know, in Connecticut or something. And she had heard he was going to Connecticut like
He was
that
filming
weekend.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, he was filming there. And so she goes, I think I want to reach out to see like if he's okay. And I'm like, first of all, what are you going to do if he's like pinned underneath the beverage cart? What are you going to do? First of all, thank God Anya reached out. This girl I went on a date with 5 days ago. And then also,
Nikki goes, babe, you'll hear about it on the news.
Especially if he's famous, if he died in a train accident.
I know. He's the type of famous that, yes, he would absolutely be. It would be like, oh my God, this guy was killed in
I
an
just
Amtrak
couldn't
accident.
face that he was never going to text me again.
Yes. So anyway, everyone in this comment section is like, dude, if a girl bakes me my favorite dessert on the second date, she's going to be my girlfriend after that because she's clearly the one for me. These fucking sad losers who are just imagining this girlfriend. Sorry to call them sad losers. I don't mean that. I just mean these guys don't know how they work psychologically.
Yes.
You are not, or you're maybe the female energy, which is not me calling you a simp or a loser. It's me saying like you don't want you want a masculine energy woman because a masculine energy woman is going to gift the shit out of you and you're going to love it. But most men are not. But all these men think they would want that. That's the thing. Like you think that you would want this, yet because then Spade said the funniest thing. I want to just read it because he goes, he was talking about, and I told him the story about Anya with the train. I didn't say Anya, but I told him about the celebrity because it was like, it was funny. And he was like, oh my God, her saying I'm worried about you. He goes, any woman, because he said an example of a guy in his life who also was like, I want to reach out to her. I'm worried about her. And he goes, that is going to make her hate you so much more. There's nothing women hate more than being worried about. It's like, it's just so funny that the only way to get a girl that already doesn't like you to get her to like you less is to say, I'm worried about you. And like,
well,
I care
defend
about your
myself,
well-being. And we're just like, ugh.
I was going to say, read about the Amtrak. Heard about the Amtrak thing. Are you okay?
No, is it in your drafts? Is it in your drafts?
Also, this is more embarrassing. He told me that he had a little daughter. He told me that his daughter was gluten-free and had celiac or some bullshit. And in our stupid date, during our date, I had told him, oh, there's this really cool frozen yogurt. Oh, she was allergic to dairy. I'm like, there's a fruit frozen yogurt place in New York. It's in Union Square. It's all fruit. And he was like, oh, really? That's really cool. I'd love to take her there. Where? He seemed a little interested. After the Amtrak derailment, where he lived and I never reached out to him, I was like, maybe he doesn't have my number and I'm looking really cute today and I'm going to that place anyway. I spent 20 minutes taking selfies of me holding this fruit froyo, and then I sent it to him and it was like maybe even without it. Nikki is dying right now. Are you okay?
I honestly am disassociating.
Was this
Realizing,
before?
I literally stopped listening because I can't handle how embarrassing this is to me.
He never wrote me back. I sent the cutest selfie of me with this fruit cup and was like, this is the place.
Was that before or after the train derailment?
Oh, it was after because I talked her out of the train derailment and I go, just wait. And
but metaphorically, there were two
this.
derailments, let's be honest.
I have so
What if he was in the train derailment and he's dying and then he gets this picture of you with the frozen yogurt?
just reminding him of the daughter he's leaving behind as he bleeds out. I've done this before too. Set like sexual just like cute selfies.
Like also, is that hot? Like, remember the frozen yogurt your daughter loves? Here's my tit with it. Here's me rubbing my nipple in this raspberry sherbet.
I have never. I mean, I hope to never have to do this kind of shit again, where it's just so desperate and sad.
I know.
I mean, I sent something to Chris over the weekend that really he didn't write back to, and I was kind of like, what the fuck? Like, I put effort into it. So we watched the show Alone, you know, where people are dropped in the wilderness and they have to like fend for themselves. And there was this one character that always would go, hey bear, every time he saw a bear. Hey bear, because that's what you're supposed to say to bears, I guess. There's a Nate Bargatze joke about it too. But he would always go, hey bear, hey bear, hey bear. His name's Colton. So I saw a bike, you know, like a bike rental thing, you know, like Lime scooters, but it was called Hey Bike. And so I took a picture of the bike and I was like, and then I just put a picture of Colton next to the bike picture and obviously it's just like him going, hey bike. And Chris never wrote back and I was just so embarrassed. And then last night I go, why didn't you write back to that? And he was like, I didn't understand it. I looked at it for so long. I go, why is this mountain man next to a bike? Like maybe it's a mountain bike and he's a mountain man. I go, that's Colton from the show. And then he kept going like, yeah, I just didn't get it. I go, well, now will you acknowledge it now that it's very funny? And he's like, yes, it was very good. I'm like, don't you ever let something like that go again. Okay, so back to this comment. Girls are writing, or another guy goes, if you did this for me, I'd want to marry you. LMAO. Yes, do it.
Oh my
in parentheses. A guy like me would immediately fall head over heels for such a sweet thing. Another guy here, I would appreciate it and find this incredibly sweet. It would be weird if you brought like a random thing, but presumably his favorite came up in conversation, so this is lovely.
I think these are all bots.
These
Yes.
these
No,
sound like
they aren't,
guys
dude.
that want to bang her.
Exactly.
They're
These
just
are
like-
lonely, horny
Yes.
men that are just like, oh my God, the weight of my heart is through my stomach. Like
Yeah.
this kind of bullshit. Now, let me just see what she wrote back. So she wrote back to one of these comments, and I want to share it with you. She had so she read all the comments, which I'm guessing these are just the top ones. People most in dating advice, it's a positive place on Reddit, and they're always kind of like lifting people up because it's so sad out there. So I think further beneath there have to be some negative comments that say don't do this. She goes, you guys are too kind. I just went through all of the comments and the feelings are mixed. However, I guess that if it's not well received, he's not the right person. I just don't want to spook him out. Okay. And then someone said the right person doesn't run when spooked. She said fair enough. So what do you think, Noah? I want to hear your thought on this because you always have just such mindful and like you've memorized the Getting to I Do book. You kind of know the rules. Do you think, because girls will use this argument quite often, and also to give advice to their friends, we all say like, well, if he doesn't like it, then he's not the right man for you. Where do you land on that? Like, where do you land on not being who you truly are, which is to bake a guy a cake on the second date, just like Bliss did? She ended up getting second place on the show Love is Blind, but now she's married to him, so it worked out for her in the end after Irina turned out to be a Russian snake.
Hey, no need to say Russian in there.
The last time I said Russian snake, I wanted to say they had nothing to do with each other. I'm just saying she's Russian and a snake. Oh, sleepy Russian snake. Okay, so where do you land, Noah?
Okay, I would tell her do not bake anything until you guys are in a relationship. That's like commitment level stuff.
But what if she's like, this is so who I am to bake a guy. I want a guy who is going to accept a cake on a second date. I want to be able to bake a guy who I had a great connection with.
Okay, well,
his favorite thing. That's who I am.
Here's what I think about dating.
Okay.
And what I hope
Well,
girls,
because you're saying what you think, you're in your
I'm being in my masculine right now, and I hope women.
He's not anywhere in the fucking room because you should be talking from I feel if he's overhearing this. Okay.
I hope this is helpful. When you're going out on dates, think of it as like collecting information. You're collecting information about this person so that you can make a wise decision down the road, whether or not you want to spend a lot of your time and openness and vulnerability with this person. So right now, you're just kind of like in that phase of collecting information, and it's not. You don't want to be so giving because you're opening yourself up to getting walked all over. And I think if that's like good advice for when you're dating, when you're starting to make new friends, we've all been there. We've shown our kindness and people interpret it as weakness. So
Word.
Okay.
just see it
Also,
as
we're
play
setting
it cool.
But we're setting the tone also. This is for the ladies. You're setting
Yes.
the tone for the relationship. So if you will have so much time to bake if you guys get married or you will have your life to bake and be yourself. Get really honest about your motives. Really honest.
That's what I'm saying. I think the motive here is he'll like me more if I do this,
Yes.
which is not
great
That's
point.
not her
So-
being her.
It's not her being her. That's so it.
And you got to remember at the beginning, you're trying to attract each other. You're not in a relationship yet. So you got to do things that will continue the attraction. Because at that stage, people could be dating. You're in competition with all the other daters in the dating
Brian
pool.
knows this.
But that's
Brian
what she
once
thinks
spent-
she's doing. She's like, I'm trying to attract him. Will this attract him? And all the dudes are like, yes,
Disaster.
yes. But they're
Yeah.
wrong.
It's attracting these dudes on Reddit.
But they don't even know how much they would be unattracted to it if it were actually happening. If they knew that they had this woman on the hook and that
Yeah.
there wasn't any chase, she's not only totally on board for you. This is also, by the way, cake on the second date or baking him a dessert can also represent sex. Giving him something that you put a lot of effort into, that is something that you give someone that you should love. Like, wait for the cake and wait for the pussy until you're in love.
Because
until
this
he loves
signifies
you.
to him that you hope that
You're in.
you hope he likes you, and that's not what dating is about. Like Noah said, in the beginning, he's courting you. I think. I know that's an antiquated idea, and maybe
No,
it's
but if
like,
you're the feminine energy in the relationship, which you have to determine what you're going to be, if you're the masculine energy woman, you're courting him probably, right? Wouldn't you say?
yeah, but like, you are both gathering data about each other, like Noah said. So he's gonna gather about you, like, oh, she's very giving, and she's gonna bake me stuff, and she's kind of trying
I
to
think
woo
a feminine
me.
energy man would like a cake being baked for him, and that would be a good move to do if
But
you were
on
a
the second
masculine energy-
date, it's
I think. What about a man doing that for a woman? Let's say buying her
Disaster.
baking.
I wouldn't like that. That would be
Disaster.
like too over the top.
I've done
Agreed.
that before. I haven't
Actually,
baked a cake, but I've done,
you've done
a
something a
gift
little
early.
too-
Absolute disaster. What she should do is she should buy all the ingredients for the cake, and then she should bake the cake, and then she should cancel the date and eat the cake, and then the next day she should be like, "Oh, I ate this cake," and be like, "That's my favorite dessert," and she's like, "Oh, really? I didn't realize."
That's
Yes.
it. That's it.
We
Yeah.
need to know more masculine energy women. Nikki, do you think you are that?
Yes, I do
So
in many
then-
ways, but I also think that I'm feminine energy in
a relationship-
in the bedroom.
I
Yeah,
think
but I
at work,
think, like,
Nikki is masculine, but in a
true
relationship,
masculine energy woman in a relationship wouldn't get her feelings hurt about like not hearing from a guy or not being cherished, not being wooed. And I don't know that woman. I want to meet her. I would love to meet like a truly masculine.
my
energy woman.
sister-in-law is definitely masculine energy. And
In a relationship too.
say it again. I didn't hear.
In a relationship as well, like she's masculine energy
Yeah,
throughout the whole,
definitely.
like in the romantic thing. I will say that I don't really respond to flowers and stuff the way that I'm almost I appreciate them because it means effort, I guess. It means they thought of me, but I sometimes
But that doesn't mean you're
don't think of it
not
as, like,
feminine.
Yeah, that's like a gift. Like whether or not you like receiving gifts.
That's just like your love language, or you just don't like flower. You're not a
It's
like.
like, are you in
a
your
masculine
feelings?
energy woman, your sister-in-law would not need a guy to text her back?
She wouldn't need to have her feelings acknowledged. Like that wouldn't be something that sets her off, but she would need like to be respected and all of her work and stuff like appreciated and all that.
So maybe
But-
if she was into baking, she
I'm
could get
not-
away with
I
that.
don't care if Chris respects my thoughts, like because I really don't, because I know that he does. I know that he thinks I'm funny. I know that he thinks I'm smart. He often says I'm smarter than him. I get that. I'm solid in that. I don't even need to hear that because I don't think I'm smarter than him, but I'm confident in my thoughts being like I don't need that, but I do need when I'm sad someone to be like, it's okay to feel this way. Oh, you're sad. Like I do like that. Okay, moving on. This is from the subreddit Cool Guides. And this says how much musicians make from streaming payouts. Okay. Spotify, what do you think you're making per stream of your songs, Anya?
Oh God, like nothing.
Each like what like for
I
one
think
song?
1,500 streams is something. Isn't it like $1? I don't even know. I really don't know. Not
All
a lot.
right. Well, it is 0.004 cents. So
Yeah, that sounds
in
about right.
order to make $1, what is that, Brian? Are you good at math?
No, not at all.
0.004. So that's going to need 2. It goes to 8 cents. So 2 streams would make you
2.50.
with 2 streams would make you nearly 1 cent. Okay. 3 streams is going to make you
250 streams makes you $1.
Really?
I think so. I just did some math.
I'll say 3 streams make you 1 cent. So 3 times that is $1, or 100 times. So 300 streams will make you $1. Final thought. I encourage everyone today to stream Anya Marina's songs 300 times.
That's like
What if you
tipping her
just leave it
$1.
on-
I'll make
yeah,
$1.
give me your $1. Just leave it on loop.
Yeah, that could work
Do
too.
people do that?
I think so.
What if you did it, Anya? What if you just had like several computers running all day long, looping your own music?
I
Would you
do that,
make
and then
money?
by the end of the week, you
I
could
don't
buy
trust
yourself a
them
Starbucks.
at all. Yes, I'm hoping for that. Honestly,
they check
Starbucks
that?
pays me more than Spotify because I have points.
It's so weird. I just wanted to, like Taylor Swift, they've recently released the numbers of like her streams. Like on Spotify every day they're being like, 80 billion plays or whatever, and you can kind of figure out what they're making from that and it'll make you sick. Okay, so let me say okay. This is from me IRL, And it's just a tweet. It's 2 tweets, actually. One person responding to the other. First person says, being new at a job is so embarrassing for no reason. It really is so embarrassing.
So embarrassing.
You just don't know what you can always
You don't
tell
know
someone
where
who's new at a
anything
place.
is.
Their hands are always like at their sides, kind of
Oh,
limp.
yeah. I'm always overdressed whenever I have a new job. I'm always wearing like a tuxedo in the office, and everyone's like, "This is casual."
Oh my God. And the girl responded and said, someone said it feels like you're a new character on season 5 of a show. And the great news is that once you learn the ropes and you're there for like a month and a half, you're the fucking top dog. Like there's a great, like I do envy and I miss that feeling of like training someone new and being like, oh my God, I've come so far. I used to be in this position and not know where the aprons were or where the checks went or how to write in a pita order or whatever it was, a restaurant I was working. It feels really good when you can do it and not think about it and not have to worry about every step. And like, I would get such anxiety going into work when I had first started a job, memorizing the menu, like approaching the table. Like I have to say, waitresses and waiters, that is a really, like, talk about stage fright. I think that is so much more scary than doing open mic comedy. Like, I don't think I've ever been so nervous in my life as I was being a waitress and having to be like, hey guys, how are you tonight? So we've got some deals on Sam Adams tonight. If you guys are looking, if you're a little thirsty. Also, our special tonight is like,
It's almost more desperate than trying to get laughs.
oh, it's so embarrassing. And I used to get, I can't even believe I did it. Like even thinking about it. So I just want to give a shout out to everyone who's a waiter or waitress out there. Like it is a performance that you don't get a lot of credit for that most people could not do. Most people would never work in the restaurant industry because it would be too they just can't take that much. I'm guessing Noah is not someone who would ever be a waitress.
I was just going to say, I have never been a waitress or any
Is that a reason? Maybe because it is
Yes.
a great job. And is that a reason?
I
Because
always
you would have
wanted
to talk to the table.
I always wanted to be like the kind of person who could have that job and do that job, but can't.
You know what? Because I know that waiters and waitresses are not treated great, and maybe you just feel like it's just soul sucking and just such hellish work. Have a little bit of pride in what you do because it's so hard for most people to do that job. It really is public speaking on a very small, like performing for 4 people at a 4-top. Like that is way harder than performing for thousands of people. Based on someone who performs for thousands of people, it's way harder to perform for smaller amounts of people in a room where you can see all their faces and they're looking at you. It's hell. And where your performance is going to be either rewarded or not at the end.
Ugh,
like I
awful.
get paid the same amount no matter what. And I know there are some fixed places that just have fixed tips, but yeah, I just want to
There
give
is
you
one
guys
situation worse if you're a comedian, and that is if you do comedy at a restaurant, especially if they're not expecting comedy. That would be harder than a waiter.
That is, man, there's this guy, Kurt Ryan Comedy, who does these hilarious memes on Instagram. And whether or not you're a comedian, especially if you're a comedian, you'll really appreciate them. I'm just going to read some of them now that it's on my mind. Brian, you have to follow him because it's all like inside baseball comedy stuff, but it's also, I think other people can appreciate it. There's one guy that's like climbing a set of stairs and his leg is super long to reach the top step and he's on the bottom step, but his leg looks extended. And it says,
I already like it.
Open mic comic is the guy. It says like open mic comic on this guy's back. And then each step has a different thing. It says hard work, strong joke writing, paying dues, being social and building connections, message Booker and harass him for spot, like all these things you have to do. Then there's one of, there's one of like a girl crying. There's people just like vomiting into different like almost Getty images of people like about to vomit into toilets. And on the top it just says when I'm on stage. And I like that. And then there's one of like Winnie the Pooh and it's like his face is calm and it says jokes. And then it's one that's kind of like, and it says bits. And then one at the end just like, it looks like a really deranged inbred Winnie the Pooh and it says little skits.
Yeah.
And that's just based on what people call what you do comedy. Like when you start comedy, your aunt will be like, how are your little bits doing? You know,
It's changing. Gen Z, TikTokers, they're skits now. They're all skits. That's the
What?
cool thing to say is
No
skits.
way.
Yes, it's
Well,
I couldn't
what?
believe it when it was happening.
Instead of saying bits, like I'm
It's-
working on this new skit.
It's skits now. It's all skits.
Get out.
Especially if you're a social
Skit
media
out.
person, it's like I've got these new skits I'm working on. I'm doing these skits, and that's cool. They don't know what a bit is. I don't even think.
Oh, there's another one. It's like it's a guy with a face palming, the emoji of a guy going like, oh, face palming, and at the top it's like it has little arrows after each word. It says, "I meet someone." Then the next arrow, "We talk." Next arrow, they say, "Put that in your little skits," and then the next thing is "Die inside." So it's just like little things like this.
Or classic ant thing is like, have you ever tried writing for SNL?
Oh,
It's like the same thing as little skits.
I mean, and classically, I mean, these are all so tired for Brian and I because we've heard them a million times, but I don't know if everyone else knows that we deal with this of like, you know, obviously you're a comedian, tell me a joke, or like you should hang out with me a little bit. You'll get a lot of material hanging out with us. Please never say any of these things to a comedian. You might, I wouldn't know it unless I was a comedian. I would probably do the same thing to people. Wait, Anya, didn't you recently
Yes.
tell someone, like we had this, what happened? Do you remember the circumstance?
Well, I was going to say two things. One is people will sometimes come up to me and be like, I have some jokes for Nikki. Will you give them to her? And then people
God.
are always like, I have these lyrics. Do you want them for your songs? And I'm like,
God.
Are you kidding me?
oh, it happens all the time.
You'd think people would understand at least not lyrics.
Well, you know what? They don't because they're watching shows like Daisy Jones and the Six. And I've got a problem with Daisy Jones and the Six, okay? I am so sick. There's nothing special about this show that is not exactly what happens on every other fucking show or movie about music. It happened in A Star is Born where a woman writes some lyrics in her little journal and she writes a song. Then a man puts some guitar behind it and suddenly he makes a full song out of her little scribbly lyrics that she's written down in a notebook that he shouldn't even be reading. And then suddenly this woman is going to be a famous singer now because this man helped, like in A Star is Born, she like tells Bradley Cooper like an idea for a song. And then the next night he's on stage and performs the entire song that he has written like a bridge to. And then she comes out and sings it and somehow knows it. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
no sense.
Daisy Jones and the Six sucks. If you like it, you should probably stop listening to this podcast because we have nothing in common. Well, actually, tell me why you like it. Maybe try to sell me on it. Chris and I watched the first episode. And I said, should we do the second episode? Just because I wanted to keep making fun of it because it was so fucking bad. And it was just it's a show that makes you, that already thinks you care about the characters, even though none of them are famous. I don't know any of them. I've nothing like sometimes a show you can almost care about a character early because you know this actor and you're like, oh, I'm going to be invested in this because none of these people you recognize, there's nothing about them that is likable about any of them. You see them aged like 20 years ahead. They look younger than they do in the scene where they're young. The main guy is too thin. He looks like he should be on The Walking Dead as not a person that's like survived, but one of the walkers. He's too disturbingly corpsey. He keeps looking like a corpse to me. That's no shade. He's a beautiful man now. He's put on a little weight, but I don't get the attraction. I don't get how he's like, Billy is the cool guy around town. I hate that this woman who has never once, we haven't heard her sing except one time in the shower, she goes to concerts. Oh, this is the fable that we all convince ourselves about. This is what we want to believe about musicians is that if you like music enough, you can make it. So this girl goes to shows and she's in the audience and she's always just like feeling the music. And then she meets these musicians that she's been going to see and they're like, I've seen you in the crowd.
Oh, God.
You're not there for the band members. You're there for the music. And she's like, you get me. And then this girl who has never sang has only scribbled some fucking lyrics in a notebook and took piano lessons when she was a kid, which we haven't seen any evidence of. She's walking by a place and it says a lone piano or something. It says two words like lone piano on this board. And she walks in, she kind of looks in the window. It's like, I wish I could someday. I wonder if she's gonna by the end of the episode. Then of course she walks in because her boyfriend has just told her that he's the main guy and she's never gonna be nothing. And she pushes him and says, I'm the main thing. I'm a star. And he goes, okay, weirdo. I've never heard you sing, so this is weird that you suddenly want to be a star. How am I supposed to glean that? I was trying to bring you into my songwriting process because I do know that you're talented in writing, but you've never sang before. So then she goes into this place, and of course she goes to the mic, and she has a perfect voice, perfectly trained, and plays the piano. It's so good. And I'm just tired of it. That's not how anything works. It's giving people false expectations. It's giving girls a dream that cannot be realized that way. It says nothing of any hard work. It just shows if you like music enough, you can be a musician. It's so bad. I need you to watch it. I need to keep watching it. But I will say that Chris said to me, he goes, we're not watching episode 2. He goes, this show is so bad that if you told me you watched the rest of the season and it was the best show you had ever seen and it completely turned around, I still wouldn't watch it. Because it is not good. There's no redemption after this first episode. Now, if you like the show, I want to hear why, and I am open.
God.
I am open to it. I am open to why this is something you like.
If anybody admits they like the show after that, they're insane.
I mean, but some people like this saccharine shit, and I don't
On
get
our
like
girls
some people
chat,
like to be. I went nuts.
Kirsten's like, here's my impression of Daisy Jones.
Oh, she said,
and she's like, hey guys, you want to hear a story? Are you ready for it? I don't know if you can take it. All right, I'll tell you if you guys think you can handle it.
oh
Sit
my
down.
God, I gotta keep watching it. I have to keep watching it.
Hate watch.
I haven't
hate
felt this
watch.
like kind of this energy coming out of me feels
This
good.
is great. I want to
love-
assign.
It feels good to watch.
I want to assign you a
watch it,
show
Brian?
I want to assign you a show or a movie so that you can just tell me how much it sucks. Like Dungeons and Dragons, everybody seems to like, and I watched it. I could not stop laughing in the theater because I thought parts of it were so bad. I would love for you to see that and give me your take.
Let's start watching things we hate that people, but it has to be things that people like that we go, how are they liking this? Horrible Bosses for me was another one. I walked out of the theater. I don't understand how anyone
I
can
have
be
one.
lied to that much.
The
about
menu. Everybody raved about the menu. It was terrible.
That the preview for that looked good, but I didn't believe that Anna Joy Taylor eats, so I wasn't able to watch it. I was like, this premise is already out of the realm of
Spoiler alert,
possibilities.
but the way that they solve the problem is, by the way, did you remember that you liked cheeseburgers? That's how they solve the problem in the movie. If you,
I don't. Okay, well,
you've never seen the movie.
Spoiler alert!
I said spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Okay, well, I definitely am going to watch more Daisy Jones and the Six because I just realized I need more things to make fun of because it's so dumb. And
Let's
I'm
watch
sorry to
Daisy
anyone
Jones
who-
and the Six.
Okay, let's keep watching Daisy Jones and the Six. Everyone, you need to watch the first episode. See if you agree with me, and if you like the show, tell me what to like about it because I'm actually going to try, and I'm not going to completely write it off like I do most things, even though I am incensed.
What's it on?
And if you did like it, I still would be friends with you. I didn't mean to say don't listen to the podcast. I still like you. There's tons of things I like that you would hate, i.e. a Columbine book that I signed this weekend. By the way, someone brought a Columbine book
Oh,
to
God.
the meet and greet, a tattered book called Columbine that I've recommended by David Cullen, and I got to sign a Columbine book. The rest of the people in the line were deeply confused. Most people in
And
line do not
disturbed.
listen to the podcast, had no idea why. I was signing a book called Columbine, but I did write in the book, it was meant to be a bombing, love Nikki. And so, and I stood for a while thinking like, what can I write in this book? Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with Brian, Anya, and Noah. Don't be and just give Daisy Jones one episode of a chance.